And good afternoon, everyone. This is Meteorologist John Jurgens with an update on the severe weather situation for this afternoon and evening. So we are now live on WREX.com, the 13 News app, and the 13 Weather app. Same story on our YouTube page and our Facebook page. If you're joining us here on Facebook Live, make sure to send in any comments, any questions that you have. I'll go over pretty much the updates on what we have right now, what we're watching out for. If you have any questions, make sure to send them on over, and we'll make sure to get those questions answered. So pretty much the first thing, you may have gotten a notification on any weather app that you have. If you're in DeKalb and Lee counties, that's because you're now under a severe thunderstorm watch. This is in effect until 8 o'clock. So places like DeKalb, Sycamore, Genoa, Kirkland, and into Lee County as well. So Dixon, Stewart, Sublette, Amboy. You're now under a severe thunderstorm watch until 8 o'clock this evening. This is for that potential that we've been talking about over the last few days for these strong to severe storms. Now, you notice how the rest of the area is not under a severe thunderstorm watch. That's because we have a cold front that's been coming in a little bit earlier than we thought. And behind that cold front is more stable air, and that's not going to be able to bring in any kind of severe weather. But as we head further to the south, though, that's where we've had the atmosphere really destabilizing. You likely have noticed how hot and humid it is outside. It has that feel that we're going to have some potentially some stronger storms, and that's why we have that severe thunderstorm watch in place until 8 o'clock for southern parts of our area. One thing that I've been noticing, though, over the last couple of hours, this is a slowed down radar loop over the last few hours. As you can see, we've had some attempts at storms to initiate, one pretty much right on top of Dixon there at the top of the last hour, but you'll notice how it just quickly fizzled out. We still have a bit of a cap overhead, and it's going to take some time still for the cap to efficiently erode. So that's why the storms that have been trying to develop so far just haven't been able to, because we still have that cap in place. Still looking to see whether we can get any more storms to develop here over the next few hours, which is why we're watching that area south of I-88. So it's going to be those areas, southern Lee County, southern DeKalb County, and then also into Whiteside County. Whiteside County, you're not under a severe thunderstorm watch right now, but the Storm Prediction Center in Oklahoma is considering Whiteside County and the Quad Cities area to be put under an additional severe thunderstorm watch here in the next hour or so. So we'll have to keep an eye on that closely, but it's mainly that southern part of the area there that we shade in this in the red outline, and then areas to the south. You'll see this thunderstorm has developed south of Aurora, so this is going to be that kind of thing of, do these thunderstorms sustain themselves, and then how far north can these progress? Then we notice the cold front farther off to the north and west. Behind that front is a decreasing severe threat. There are some general showers. There may try to be an embedded thunderstorm that tries to develop. Not worried about any kind of severe weather threat behind that cold front. And as that front moves through, it gives us at least a bit of a reprieve from the humidity. That's going to be the big thing, is that there is some slightly drier air, so not as humid, I should say, behind the front. So that'll give a little bit of a reprieve. So if you're heading out to Old Settlers Days, if you're heading out to the 13 WRX Night at the Rivets later on this afternoon and evening, we're looking okay. Still bring the umbrella. It's just a very slight chance, although it does look like this cold front is doing a pretty good job at clearing things out. So some good news here, that most of northern Illinois, most of our area, may just be in the clear this time, and then just areas south of I-88 still under the gun for some potential severe storms. That's why we have that severe thunderstorm watch in place until 8 o'clock. So it kind of shows in that severe storm outlook, and we'll get an update on this here. Let's see what time. It's about 2:30. We'll get an update on this in about a half hour. However, I would suspect that this level 3 out of 5 will kind of maintain itself, and then we'll kind of see the severe storm outline here kind of go down a little bit. So we'll see some downgrades, especially across southern Wisconsin and far northern Illinois. It does look like any kind of severe potential is pretty much limited to I-88 and on south. So some good news for us, that especially for most of northern Illinois, maybe staying on the outside looking in this time. So thankfully that kind of best case scenario that we've been outlining over the last few days may be coming to fruition, but we still got to watch out for essentially Dixon and Sterling on over to DeKalb and points off to the south. That's going to be our main threats here in terms of what we see in terms of potential severe weather. So here's future track, and you can see models have not been doing very well. There's not a thunderstorm developed over Lee County right now, but still, nonetheless, just trying to see an indication here as to what we can expect over the rest of the afternoon and evening. You'll see much of the thunderstorm activity staying south of I-88, even staying closer to I-80 south of our area through Ottawa and over towards Princeton. And then north of that, just some potentially general rain showers, maybe an embedded thunderstorm. And then as we progress further on, the general activity will kind of just fade away. And then we'll watch to see if there's any more development. You can see trying a little bit here south of I-88 after about 6 or 7 o'clock or so. That's going to be what we watch out for here later on. So that's why we're trying to say like maybe sneaking in a little bit after 8 o'clock, but nonetheless, still just something to keep an eye on, especially maybe just south of I-80. So hopefully we're on the outside looking in on this kind of activity later on in the night. But again, something that we'll have to watch out for later on. After about 10 o'clock or so, we are pretty much in the clear when it comes to any kind of severe weather. So in terms of the threats here, looking at a decreasing flooding potential just because activity is looking very isolated at this point, anything that does try to develop. And then also that tornado threat is even lower than it was yesterday, and it was already very low. So not necessarily worried about any kind of tornado threat. It's mainly that damaging wind gusts and that very large hail potential. I especially think the hail potential here, just because as soon as these storms pop up, they are really going to be packing a punch here in terms of that hail. It'll really start to generate the very large hail, and then also potentially some microbursts with this as well, with very strong wind gusts. Again, mainly south of I-88 through about 8 o'clock or so. That other round of activity, we're pretty much looking at that maybe forming just to the south of I-80, which would keep it clear out of our area. So again, mostly kind of looking on the outside, looking in. You know, Billy saying how we need the rain, how much rain did we get this morning? It wasn't all that much. So this morning we just had a quick thunderstorm roll through pretty much Winnebago, Boone, McHenry counties and into Rock and Walworth counties as well. Didn't really pick up too much in terms of that. I would have to check. I don't think the airport actually recorded anything. I'll have to take an eye on that though. But still, nonetheless, didn't get much rain with this, and maybe not getting much rain out of this at all either for this afternoon and evening. So yeah, kind of needing the rain just a little bit. You know, we came in above average heading into this month, and now starting to see that draw back a little bit. So definitely needing some rainfall there. In terms of flooding potential, pretty much not really going to be seeing much of that just because the activity is looking much more isolated as that cold front is essentially pushing everything to the south. So that cold front, we were thinking it was going to be holding off to our north, kind of getting us right under the kind of best environment for these thunderstorms, but that cold front has pushed off to the south, and that's pushing the severe threat pretty much mostly south of our area. Still have to watch out for the Dixon, DeKalb areas, and also Sterling as well. Really want to be watching out for that potential for these thunderstorms to develop and then quickly turning severe, in only a few moments notice. So if you are heading out to Rivet Stadium with us for the 13 WRX night at the Rockford Rivets, again, can't rule out a stray shower, especially early on, but nonetheless, things looking mostly dry, temperatures just kind of staying on the warmer side. Hopefully kind of toning down the humidity though once that cold front passes through. So not too much of a heat index or anything like that. So just kind of a regular summer evening over the rest of the evening, especially across far northern Illinois. But if you're going out anywhere south of I-88, Sterling, Dixon, DeKalb, points off to the south, want to be watching out for that potential for severe weather. Why we have that severe thunderstorm watch in place for the counties in pink there, DeKalb and Lee counties until 8 o'clock. We'll be watching out for Whiteside County, where the Storm Prediction Center is outlining that area for an additional watch that could be issued later on tonight. So yeah, Laurel saying got a whole lot of rain in Belvedere. Yeah, it was just very spotty. It was very hit or miss. I mean, at my house, I live in Rockford, and I didn't really get too much. It downpoured just for a little bit, and then it just went right away. And then some spots really just kind of got a deluge of rain early this morning. Quickly moved out, so it's kind of like none of the airports may have observed anything. Let me switch over my thing here. Let's take a check here. So we can take a quick look here. It's going to take a little while to load here, but let's see. There we go. Yeah, so you can see very narrow area of rainfall. And you can see the Rockford Airport didn't record anything, but kind of the north side of Rockford really got in on a whole lot of rain. And as Lauren said there, a whole lot of rain in Belvedere early this morning. So you definitely see that, but none of the airports kind of got anything. So it's just, that's one of those cases where it's so spotty that, it's not going to go down in any kind of official record or anything, but it's just, that you got a whole lot of rain early in the morning. So kind of, congrats to you, nice job. Well, the Gardens certainly appreciate it, but, places like Rochelle, DeKalb, Freeport didn't really see much of anything early this morning, although that could change, especially in southern parts of the area where we have that potential for some severe weather later on this afternoon and evening. Eva asking about Rochelle, so we'll kind of go back. So Rochelle, I know you're pretty much essentially right on the Ogle-Lee County line. So Ogle County not officially under that severe thunderstorm watch. And I think, even Rochelle probably on the outside looking in, just because we're especially watching for areas in southern Lee County and southern DeKalb County in terms of any additional activity that could be developing. So Rochelle, let's cross our fingers, likely on the outside looking in, but still just be on the lookout, could have a quick pop-up thunderstorm, could be just a little bit on the stronger side. So Billy's saying northwest side soil looked like we got something recordable enough to not water the garden today. It's like, that's kind of the good news, is that, just a little bit of rainfall, just enough to get the gardens that you don't have to, start the sprinklers or get the hose out to water the garden. So kind of just some good news there. Pretty much elsewhere, pretty much just kind of out of luck at this point. Claudia saying, what caused the lack of storms for the Rockford area? It's this cold front. It's kind of surging in a little bit quicker than anticipated, and it's kind of moving the forcing that is kind of developing these thunderstorms off to our south. So this cold front coming in a little bit earlier than expected, and that's kind of moving the area of better forcing and better instability for these thunderstorms to develop farther off to the south. And that's why we're seeing more of these storms kind of developing and somewhat sustaining themselves south of Aurora. So that's going to be kind of the prime area to look at, is mainly areas south of I-88. So thankfully the good news is that a lot of us are on the outside looking in. So that's going to be kind of the good news here, is that first day of Old Settlers Days and the 13 WRX night at the Rivets tonight. Looking pretty nice out there. Can't rule out a stray shower still. I wouldn't say that we're completely dry, just because as we see off to the north, there is this kind of very light rain shower or drizzly activity. However, it will be kind of acting to dry out as we head, especially towards about 4, 5, 6 o'clock. So still just can't rule it out, but really should be just a pretty nice summer evening with warmer temperatures, and then this cold front kind of acting to kind of reduce the humidity just a little bit. So a little bit of good news there, getting a little bit of a reprieve. Tomorrow, definitely going to be seeing that the noticeable impacts of this cold front. Cooler temperatures, still slightly above average, but just more comfortable, and then also much less in terms of humidity. Stephanie asking, our deck chairs ended up in the lake and lots of tree branches down in Lake Somerset. That's kind of the thing that we saw with this thunderstorm, was that there were just little, pretty much just little bursts of wind coming out of them, up to about 40-ish miles per hour. And that's kind of the one thing, is that even last week when we had those gusty winds too, we were seeing a whole lot of tree branches coming down in yards and that kind of thing. That's mainly just because of the leaves. Earlier on into the spring when we had these storms rolling through, didn't have as much in terms of any kind of like tree branch damage, because it didn't have the weight of the leaves. The added weight of the leaves actually is a big thing to consider when it comes to these kinds of gusty winds, because they add the weight to those tree branches. So some of the weaker limbs, some of the weaker branches, even in potentially in terms of kind of tree rot. That's kind of when we watch to see with the weaker branches, those could be coming down when we add the weight of those leaves as they especially come into full effect as we head into the early summer. So that's kind of the things that we've been seeing both this morning and then also last week with those gusty winds. And I think that's what we saw a little bit in Lake Somerset. It really ramped up, it looks like, in parts of the Chicago suburbs. I believe it was in Carroll Stream. I think they reported a little bit of a microburst there early this morning. Billy's saying, yeah, it feels ripe for a storm. Hopefully we get more. We're going off to Pearl Lake tomorrow. So hopefully we don't get any storms to Pearl Lake tomorrow, because it will be a pretty nice one. Not looking at any kind of thunderstorms tomorrow or Saturday. So it's going to be a pretty nice lead up to the weekend, it looks like. Not seeing the kind of heat and humidity like we are today. But Billy, you're right. I mean, I stepped outside and it just, man, it feels like it's going to storm today. And looks like we may just be in the clear once this cold front comes in. There's definitely a lot more instability in the air farther off to the south, mainly south of I-88, which again, I'll just point this out here one more time, which is where we have that severe thunderstorm watch until 8 o'clock. DeKalb County, Lee County, 8 o'clock. That's when that severe thunderstorm watch expires, mainly looking for damaging wind gusts and large hail with any pop-up storms that can develop here over the next few hours. So stay weather aware, especially the farther south you go, near and south of I-88. The rest of the area may just be on the outside looking in this time, so some good news there, that especially the Rockford area, Old Settlers Days, 13 WRX, not at the rivets, looking dry, looking good this time, but still remain weather aware near and south of I-88 for potentially some severe thunderstorms to develop over the next few hours. So I'll have the latest here coming up in a little over an hour here on 13 News at 4 with the latest updates in terms of any kind of model changes and then also where these thunderstorms are developing, and of course keep you informed on any new alerts that do come in as they arrive. But for now, I'm meteorologist John Jurgens. Thanks for joining me here, and I'll keep you informed over the rest of the afternoon and evening. Take care.